Two teenagers in a quiet Russian university town spent 6 months wandering the streets after dark with hammers and knives. They were looking for anyone who couldn't fight back. They weren't hunting for money or settling scores. They recorded everything they did and uploaded it online, treating murder like content. The worst part was that they weren't the first people to do this. They had copied what they had seen someone else do on the internet first. But somewhere in that ordinary setting, two 19-year-olds named Artyom and Nikita had found the 3 Guys 1 Hammer video, the Dnipropetrovsk Maniacs footage, real murder filmed for entertainment, and passed around the internet like a viral clip. And instead of being repelled by it, they were inspired, they studied it, they talked about it, and they decided they wanted to make their own. Artyom came from a broken home, raised by a mother who reportedly encouraged his resentments rather than tempering them. He had drifted through some neo-Nazi circles but found them too passive for his taste, because what he really wanted was action. Nikita was quieter, more withdrawn, a young man who had been bullied at school and had slowly withdrawn from everyone except Artyom. By the end, Artyom was his only friend and Nikita would follow him into anything. Together, they formed something that fed off itself, making violent music with names like Evil Dwarfs and Dismembered Pugacheva, noise bands with lyrics about blood and hatred. They created online fan groups for serial killers, including one called Pichushkin, Our President, dedicated to Russia's infamous chessboard killer. On November 14, 2010, they made their first move. Their target was an 18-year-old woman named Anastasia Markovskaya, who was walking home. They attacked her from behind and struck her over the head with a bottle. She survived by pretending to be dead until they ran away. Police did not open a full investigation. Nothing had been stolen, so the attack was treated as a random act of street violence. December 1, 2010 was when everything escalated because they attacked another woman early that evening but were scared off by witnesses. Frustrated, they kept walking until they saw a 12-year-old boy named Daniil Semyonov sledding on a small hill near their old school. He was alone and small and perfect for what they wanted. They attacked him together, and Daniil's mother and brother found him still alive, but by the time an ambulance fought through traffic, he was gone. The police initially ruled it an accident, claiming he'd hit a tree at high speed. Even though his snow scooter was undamaged, the hill had a gentle 10-degree slope, and there was nothing in the snow he could have hit, but the authorities didn't want to believe a child could be murdered in this neighborhood. So they called it an accident and moved on. Artyom and Nikita had taken a child's life and gotten away with it. They learned something dangerous. They believed they could do it again without being caught as long as they chose vulnerable victims and stayed patient. 15 days later, on December 16th, they found 69-year-old researcher Olga Pirog walking near the same area. They killed her in a brutal knife attack. This time, they recorded audio before and during the attack. They discussed what they were about to do, then captured the sounds of the crime itself. They left her money and jewelry behind. Robbery was never the motive. What they wanted was the act itself, and they wanted proof that they had done it. The attacks continued almost weekly now. On December 29th, they attacked Inessa Svetlova and took her bag, which they threw away. An hour later, they found 22-year-old Yekaterina Karpova, who was pregnant, and walking with her 6-year-old niece near a railway crossing. They attacked as she crossed the tracks while the niece managed to run. Karpova screamed that she was pregnant, but they kept going, and a car turned the corner at the last moment and scared them off. Both Karpova and her unborn child survived, but barely. On New Year's Day in 2011, a homeless man was found badly injured near garbage cans on Lermontov Street. He was taken to the hospital but later died, and because no one knew his identity, police recorded him only as corpse number 20. By February, fear had spread through the neighborhood. Residents began patrolling the streets themselves while police formed special teams to search for the attacker. One journalist wrote that one of the killers might have been sitting at a computer laughing as he watched the entire neighborhood panic, but no one knew who he was. Everyone was searching for a stranger. While Artyom and Nikita weren't strangers, they were local kids who had grown up there. They walked the same streets as their victims and attended the same schools, and shopped at the same stores. They even attended a community meeting about the murders, offering suggestions and filming it on a mobile phone. They were hiding in plain sight because nobody expected the killers to be the quiet teenagers sitting in the back. On February 21st, they found Alexander Maximov, a drunk man, walking home from visiting his sister, and they killed him. Maximov was buried in a closed coffin, his remains so damaged that parts of his skull became evidence later. 6 days later, Nikita went out alone and attacked a woman named Nina Kuzmina while she was sitting on a bench. But Nina screamed and a neighbor looked out the window. Nikita panicked and ran away, taking only her phone. It was the first time either of them had acted alone, and it had gone badly. On March 10th, Artyom and Nikita returned to the area near the State University bus stop where they found a homeless man named Roman Fazulin. Artyom shot Roman with an air gun, and the two dragged him into some bushes and attacked him. Later, Artyom photographed the scene from his apartment window with a trail of blood visible in the snow. In early April, they made their final recording. On April 3rd, they attacked a 63-year-old homeless woman named Eleftina Kudina near a research institute. She later died from her injuries. Afterward, they filmed themselves with her body and kept part of her remains. Later, they left it on the porch of their old school. Artyom sent the video to an online contact in St. Petersburg, who distributed it across the internet. For a brief period, the Irkutsk police suspected a leak from their own department, because the video spread so quickly. They didn't realize the killers had simply uploaded it themselves, treating their own footage the same way they treated the Dnepropetrovsk video that had inspired them. 2 days later, on April 5, 2011, everything fell apart. The police had released drawings showing what these suspects might look like. Nikita's grandmother, who worked at a research institute, saw the drawings and began to suspect him. Nikita's uncle went to his house. Nikita was not there, but his camera was. Inside, it was a memory card containing the video of the attack on Alevtina Kidina. The uncle took the camera to the police. Within an hour and a half, both teenagers were in custody. Nikita surrendered calmly after his family convinced him to give himself up. By midnight, they had confessed to 5 murders and 6 attacks. The final number would later rise to 6 confirmed murders and at least 10 attacks. They also admitted that they had planned to kill again that same evening. The investigation that followed was massive. Police recovered weapons including a mallet, knives, and an airgun hidden inside an electric stove. They also found videotapes, memory cards, and notebooks filled with extremist material. During the search, Artyom's mother destroyed one of the notebooks in an attempt to protect her son, but by then it was already too late. During questioning, doctors found that both teenagers were mentally fit to stand trial. At first, Artyom tried to blame Nikita, saying that Nikita had been the leader. Nikita, however, said he could not have done it alone and that it was not interesting without Artyom. They blamed each other, then sometimes blamed no one. Together, they had become far more dangerous than either of them would have been alone. The trial began in August 2012 and lasted until February 2013, with 16 victims and more than 50 witnesses testifying. The courtroom was tense and traumatized, with witnesses fainting. Artyom was cynical at first, carefully dissecting testimony, then broke down crying twice. He tried to pin everything on Nikita, while Nikita was distant, almost detached, giving short answers with long pauses. At one point, Nikita claimed Artyom hadn't been involved in 4 of the murders, naming accomplices who didn't exist, then admitted he'd lied. His mother believed he did it to shield Artyom to share the blame equally. And during a prison visit, he told her, "Why do they make the devil out of Artyom and paint me white and fluffy? We are both to blame." On April 2, 2013, the Irkutsk Regional Court sentenced Artyom to life in prison. He was sent to a high-security prison. Nikita was sentenced to 24 years in prison. Later, an appeal reduced his sentence to 20 years because he had been under 18 during most of the killings. The verdict took 8 hours to read, with Artyom weeping when he heard life and Nikita staring ahead saying nothing. Artyom was transferred to a remote prison colony, becoming the youngest inmate there at the time. In interviews, he showed no remorse, blamed the media, mentioned writing a book, and claimed to be studying law remotely. He is still serving his sentence. Nikita was moved between several facilities. In 2015, a psychiatric evaluation diagnosed him with a severe mental disorder. A court initially ordered him transferred to a psychiatric hospital, but before that could happen, he attacked another inmate with a metal dustpan. Later, he admitted he wanted a life sentence so he could be housed with Artyom again. The court reversed its decision, found him criminally responsible, and added 11 more years to his sentence. On November 30th, 2021, prison guards found Nikita unresponsive in his cell. He was 28 years old and had served 10 years of his sentence. The injuries suggested that he had taken his own life. He left no explanation. The Akademigorodok case, often called the Academy Maniacs case, was a disturbing example of how online content and real-world violence became connected. 2 teenagers watched real murder videos online and eventually began copying what they saw. Over time, they started recording their own crimes and sharing the footage online. What remains today is more than a collection of violent recordings. It also shows how two teenagers gradually became capable of committing these crimes.